Trump on that. Let's talk to Dr. Ken, though, because on the front pages this morning, a lot of people being told basically it's all mayhem in the A&E department. Patients facing 2-day waits at A&E in flu crisis is what it says on the front page of the Times. The Daily Mail similarly says A&E in crisis as flu spikes. Dr. Ken, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I suppose we always know that it's winter time, don't we? We always know it's January because there's always a crisis in the NHS of one kind or another. But I've always asked the same question every single year. Why is it that the crisis is not kind of prepared for better, or somehow, you know, more beds are ordered in, or more people are ordered in, or something changes? Every single year it seems to be the same problem.
Yeah, so a huge amount of preparation goes into winter planning, and everything from vaccination to making sure there's sort of staff and beds. But what happens that certainly this time of year, and the number of flu cases, but not only flu, but a number of viruses just go up exponentially. And particularly the vulnerable and elderly, they get sort of flu and they require specialist support. And no matter how much you sort of provide, there will sort of come a point where, you know, hospitals, you know, will come under pressure and the whole system will come under pressure. So you can plan as much as sort of we like, but, you know, certainly this time of the year, there will be that sort of pressure that we need to work on. Now, there is a lot of work happening to sort of, you know, manage this increased number of places, but we can't prevent the sort of significant amount of viruses that do go on, particularly the flu, which is at a high level this year compared to other.
But if this was any other business, you would have to find a way, wouldn't you? You know, if you, for example, had this problem with, I don't know, trains, so that every single year in December there were so many people that you couldn't get them all onto trains, you'd have to put on more trains, or you'd have to make the station, you know, change the way that you let people in and out of it. You know, something would have to be done, whereas what we seem to get is that, well, it's another crisis.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, behind the scenes, you know, many beds are freed up, and, you know, we have got the infrastructure that we've got. It still doesn't sort of prevent sort of, you know, if you like, sort of, you know, high numbers of sort of, say, pandemic, etc., in arising. So, you know, it's not, I suppose we can't just increase the sort of, the number of beds, etc., in unlimited way, because even if we did that, you still have to have the staff, you still have to have other infrastructure elements. So, you know, it's as quick as sort of it best can be, and I think every year one tries to improve. But actually, it's not really possible to prevent sort of these epidemics sort of occurring, because, you know, they will occur, and, you know, we can get prepared to a certain extent, but, you know, there will be pressure, and that's what we're experiencing currently.
Yeah, but it says 9 hospitals across 5 trusts have declared critical incidents in the past week. I mean, surely there's a way of getting around that, isn't there?
Yeah, I think hospitals have to, you know, clearly if they get to a sort of capacity that, you know, it's unsafe, then what they have to do is have to sort of declare the critical incident, so patients are managed, you know, patients.
And what happens then? So what's the difference then if it's a critical incident? What changes then?
Well, what happens is that, for example, ambulances are directed to different hospitals and the system organises in a different way. It just allows that, you know, obviously if the hospital sort of gets to a position where it can't sort of accept any more patients, and obviously we have to get surrounding hospitals to accept that. So it's a way of mitigating the sort of, you know, the number of cases that are in that particular area at that time. So yeah, it's part of the escalation. This is what's sort of been carefully sort of planned for. So yes, there are long waits and sort of so on, but it's a question of keeping patients safe, and, you know, that's not unusual. That does happen at other times of the year, but obviously winter is the greatest time it can happen.
But surely it's unacceptable for people to wait 50 hours to be seen in an A&E department. Surely something can be done about that.
Well, I think the way A&E works, I mean, I think it does its absolute best to prioritise the high-risk cases, and, you know, they do have, you know, okay, if patients sort of are not sort of, you know, on the ward, etc., it does have a careful way of triaging and managing those patients. I think the important thing is that where somebody is sort of, say, in a life-threatening condition, they still need the care, there are a number of sort of patients that can be managed outside the A&E in the community via 111, via the pharmacist, via their GP, And I think that's the critical thing when somebody's got sort of normal flu, but they're walking and not too unwell. The most important thing is to either self-manage or get directed and get support of, say, Pharmacy First, 111, the GP, because one, that is quicker and that actually protects the A&E department. I think for us, really, making sure the vaccinations are up to date, and there's still a lot of high-risk people that haven't had their flu vaccine. But also, I think we use alternative resources, and many of them exist in the community, and that protects the A&E department. And I suppose that helps the overall system. What you've got to be careful is that A&E doesn't want to necessarily, manage the very, very ill, but the patients that are not very, very ill, we want to use the other resources available.
Yeah.
Primary care.
Well, the thing is, Adrian Boyle, right, who's the president of the Royal College of Emergency Medicine, he's quoted in the Times today as saying people are suffering unsafe and unacceptable care in what has become a regular winter crisis in an NHS that is not set up to cope with demand. So basically, he's saying people are going to die unnecessarily. I mean, I don't see that is in any way acceptable. I don't care whether it happens every year. I don't care whether, there's nothing you can do about it. Something has to be done about it, surely. If people are dying because they're not being seen by doctors in a country like this in 2025, there's something seriously wrong, isn't there? I mean, Wes Streeting says he's ashamed.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, at the end of the day, I think one does have to manage the sort of pressure within the infrastructure we have.
Well, yeah, but they have to do better, don't they?
I agree. I mean, we have to learn and we have to improve from where we are.
Well, so it takes me back to my original question. Why, if every single year we have the same problem, why doesn't somebody come up with a way of fixing it?
Well, to be honest, I think that, it's not just simply a case of beds. It is a question of manpower, and, manpower is increasing and so on. But I think what we've got to get into a situation, I think we do have to sort of, in some ways saying, because one of the main messages is that can we manage, patients and community much more effectively? And that's what we're doing in primary care. So now somebody comes with respiratory conditions, we don't actually have to send them to A&E. We can send them to respiratory hubs.
Yeah, but it's all very well, Ken. You're saying the same thing over and over again, but you're not actually giving me the answer that I'm looking for, which is that we need to do something better. We need to change the system.
Yes, I think we need to be more effective, but what I'm saying is that I think we need to be innovative and work together to get the right solution.
Yeah, but we have this conversation every year, not necessarily you and I, but I have it with a doctor every year, and every year somebody says something like that, we need to be more innovative. Well, why don't you be more bloody innovative then and get it done so people don't die?
Yeah, to be honest, I think we have to be more effective. We have to be I agree with that.
Yeah, well, let's do it then.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that I think we have to look at the the whole problem and look at the solution together.
Right, but every year the same. Every year we've got to look at this, we've got to look at that, we've got to be more effective, we've got to be more efficient. Well, can we not just find some people that can get on with it and get it done?
No, I agree. And I think that we are getting more effective every year.
Really?
But, the question is, it's not as simple a solution.
No, I know it's not as simple, but I've been living in this country for a very long time, decades, in fact, and every single year the same thing happens and nothing changes. And that tells me that it's run very badly and needs to be run by better people. Ken, thank you very much indeed. Dr. Ken Aswani there, who says that we need to be more effective. We could have run the interview we did last year where they said we need to be more effective. We could have run the one from the year before where they said we need to be more effective, or even the year before that, or even going all the way back to when I worked at Talk 107 in 2006 when they said we need to be more effective, or even back to when I was born in the 1960s when they said we need to be more effective. Well, why don't you just be more bleeding effective then? Sorry, it's not difficult, is it? Not bloody rocket science.